What's up, everybody? It is Thursday, and you know what that means? That's right, it's time for another episode of Geeks with Wives and Capes. We are on episode number 58. Somehow they've still let us be on the air. People are still listening and watching, I think, right, Casey?
Yeah, the occasional person tunes in.
Sure, awesome. And we are here with an esteemed panel of awesome guests, but first, let's go ahead and introduce my numero uno main man, my co-host partner in crime, expert on all things comics, Mr. Casey Walsh. Casey, how you doing today, man?
Let's not go around just throwing around the word expert, because nothing near that
Hey,
at all.
you know what? You're an expert in my book. You know a lot more about comics than I do. Without you, I would know nothing. How you been, man? How's your week?
It's been good. It's been good. Just been tooling around. Work's been busy. Just trying to read as much as I could and take in as much as I could. Captain America came out, so we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We're gonna talk about that for sure.
A lot of comic book news in the recent hours, in fact, let alone days. So that's going to be a good night. I'm excited to talk to our guests because I thoroughly enjoyed their comic. It harkened back to my early days of reading in the gory art style. So I'm excited to dive into that. So
I'm excited too, man. Well, speaking of our guests, let's get right to it. We tonight are joined by two amazing gentlemen who are the forces behind an amazing book by Fanboy Comics called The Arcs. We are joined by Mike Poisson. Did I say it correctly?
You did. Hello.
And Matt Jacobs. Welcome to the show, guys. How are we doing tonight?
Thank you. Great. Thanks for having us.
We're so excited to have you because
So-
not only... Go ahead, Casey.
I was saying, I'm going to interject here. Okay, so if you guys have listened before, you guys know I used to host. That whole section right there is why I'm not allowed to host anymore. Because I would have butchered both of those names horrendously, and this would have been a giant mess. So if
I thought
anyone
I was on
wondering
the wrong
why,
show when he said amazing gentleman.
Casey, you would have said what I said before you came on. Probably called him Mike Poison, right?
yeah, I'll most certainly. If that, I would have probably gone with Koi Pond or something just insane. I don't know.
See, what are we gonna do without that? That was kind of like our shtick, man.
Trust me, we're better for it.
Awesome. Well, anyways, they're like I said, they're the geniuses behind a comic called The Arcs. So first off, let's ask you gentlemen what we quintessentially asked all of our guests. Tell us about your origin story and kind of how you got started in the industry and kind of some exciting things that led you to where you're at today. Why don't we start with you, Mike?
All right. I'm originally from Rhode Island, and I decided when I was in high school that I wanted to go into entertainment industry. So I went to Boston at Emerson College, and growing up, I watched the X-Men animated show, and I loved it intensely, and that's what kind of pushed me towards comics. So I read just a bunch of X-Men growing up. And then once I got into college, I started reading all the graphic novels, like Watchmen and Black Hole and all that. Then I came out to Los Angeles, which is where I live now, and I'm trying to be a TV writer. I work in television and development right now.
Awesome.
And I wrote this pilot script called The Arcs, and I had some friends read it. And it was years ago, before Game of Thrones was on, and no TV network was doing the big epic fantasy shows. So I just loved the story. I've always loved angels and weird religious mythology. So then I gave it to a few friends to read just for notes, and one of my friends said this could be a comic book, and I love comic books, so I was really excited. They handed me off to Fanboy Comics, who read it and fell in love with it as well, and they helped me get Matt Jacobs here, and they started me off.
Awesome, that's so cool. So when so obviously your story was a little ahead of time, but I'm gonna back up a second. I think that the '90s X-Men was responsible for a lot of people going into the comic book industry, right?
It's ridiculously good. It holds up now. I can watch it now and be excited.
It's so good.
Best opening ever.
Yes, it's my ringtone right now. Is the
so
X-Men
good.
animated series.
Yeah. Let's do it. It's awesome, man. So how did you come across so Matt, how did you originally come up with some of the concepts as far as the art for the arcs? Is that something that Mike had a lot of input on, or did he kind of give you a creative rein on that?
He was really heavy in the description and his take on the world and the characters, very descriptive, and like right when we met, it was like right up my alley. I mean, with the grittiness and the gore and how dark the book is, I really love that kind of stuff, and it just caught me like right away. And I think it was he was really descriptive, and I went pretty much based off this description. We had a pretty easy time with the first year, Mike, didn't we? And there was a couple of the women characters that we struggled with there at the end, but for the most part, we had an easy time with like 8 out of 10 characters. I said we did pretty good.
Yeah, no, Matt was amazing. It's a big world, and there's a lot of characters, and he was really good about. Like from the minute he sent over the first 3 character designs, I knew that he was the right artist for this. I'd been searching for a long time, and I was having trouble finding someone. Yeah, but we just made it work, and he's a phenomenal and perfect fit for the book.
That's so cool. So I'm so sorry. I'm going to back up a little bit. Matt, tell us a little bit about your origin. How did you come into this amazing industry?
Okay, I grew up a big comic fan as a youngster, a toddler even. You know, growing up in the through like the late '80s, early '90s when we had like the up and comers of like Todd McFarlane's, the Jim Lees,
right?
Obviously like Simon Bisley's, Frank Miller's, the stuff that were like heavily influenced my art style, and I found myself at the Joe Kubert School. I don't think you can call that college. You just call it the Kubert School.
We've heard about this illustrious Kubert School.
Yeah. And you know what, man? My art improved like tenfold at that place. I will say that much. That place was like a boot camp for drawing, and it's like all you do. You have to get drunk on a regular basis to keep your sanity. If that makes any sense at all.
Come on, that sounds like a lot of other colleges.
Yeah. Well, it's New Jersey. I mean, that's your only choice.
Yeah, right.
So. But that was a great place, man. It taught me a lot. That school really taught me a lot, and I got out of there and was sort of bouncing around with a few different things for a little bit, and that's how I found my way into comics, really.
Awesome. So how did the chance meeting with you and Mike come about?
Mike, did we meet on a Craigslist ad? That sounds so seedy, doesn't it?
I think that's where all good relationships begin. Yeah, we.
He's the ones to remember.
Yeah.
Like looking for an artist who likes demons.
Yeah.
I had been looking for a few months, and I was posting on like DeviantArt and on Craigslist for like months, and just getting responses. And you get like a lot of like anime porn type artists who send stuff your way.
You get a lot of hentai creators, huh?
Yeah, and you're like, this isn't quite what I'm looking for.
No, not that.
But yeah, Matt and I just met over email, and I sent him my stuff, and he sent me some drawings, and they were great. And then we met up after that, I think.
Yeah.
Matt, what was your initial reaction when you read the story?
I can't swear, can I?
Yeah, you can.
You can swear. You can totally swear.
Holy shit! I mean, this is amazing. Like I said before, like as soon as I started reading this thing, I was like, this is so cool. Like it's so dark, and like when you see it's like it's about angels, and then I stopped. Okay, great. I should have sworn then. That was my opportunity. That was my in right there. To just turn into Dice Clay on this thing.
Hey, forget about it.
Oh! So I was on Craigslist. And I totally forgot where I was going with that now. But I'm reading this, you see like angels and then like demons, and then I'm getting more into it, and then I just see like the stuff that Mike had written, even, and I think it was just the kind of the synopsis of the story and like how dark it was going with it, how gory it was, and it was just, I knew like I wanted to do this book.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm a sucker for gore.
There's definitely copious amounts of gore in this book, which I think is one of the things that made me really love it. What made you guys decide to go with black and white over color on this particular story?
I think it was much cheaper. which is phenomenal. And honestly, Matt's artwork is so good and detailed. Like his inks are so amazing that it's almost a shame to like put color over it because you get everything you need from just like his inks.
Yeah.
That's cool to hear that. I never think that. You know, I'm always like, I need a colorist to fix this shit. But you know, I think I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And you know, I think Mike wanted to go with the black and whites. The more we started leaning towards black and white, I think I started getting heavier with like the gray tones and splattering and that kind of shit in the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the idea that like good versus evil, like black and white, and then everything kind of gets muddled, so everything gets more gray as we went along.
Yeah, definitely from a reader's perspective, I just want to tell you guys both the story as well as the art style and the artwork is so strong you can almost like envision the color as you're reading it along. I mean, to me that's kind of what I got of it. Like you can kind of see the way things would be colored and you can definitely see the blood and the gore. So I think that's a really an amazing thing. So for our viewers and listeners who haven't read this, tell us what the arc's about in your own words, Mike.
So the Arcs is about the 7 archangels in heaven, and basically centuries ago, God pieced out. He's like, look, you guys take care of the earth while I'm gone, and then I'll come back and I'll bring everyone up to heaven. And there are weird rules in place, like they're not in heaven, they're in this other world. They can escort souls, like human souls, into heaven, but they can't get in there themselves. The angels can't die, but they can get ripped apart by the demons, so then the parts just get thrown into this graveyard area. And they can't create new angels, only God can do that. So basically the centuries have gone on without God. Their ranks keep getting decimated by the demons until there's less and less of them. And they're basically, when the graphic novel opens, they're about to lose their grip on Earth. And they're not sure what to do, so then they have to get creative and come up with new crazy ideas to stop the demons.
Yeah. What obviously this is a story that has a lot of I guess biblical mythology, you could say. Kind of give us some insight as to the background of, you know, how the story took place, and because obviously there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure, you know, you can take out of the Bible as far as, you know, names of angels and things. Kind of what was your overall inspiration for that?
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, and so, you know, I always read the Bible stories, and what always intrigued me were the angels because I didn't understand them. Like, I didn't know if they had free will. I didn't know if they were just slaves to humanity. So I just wanted more information on that. So I always had an idea for the story, but when I actually sat down to write it, I just started researching. So it's a lot of stuff from the Bible. I went to Dante's Inferno for some of it, and as well as the Apocrypha texts, I think they're called, which are texts were written at the same time as the Bible, but they're non-canonical, so they weren't included in the Bible. And actually, they have a lot more angel stories than the Bible does. Okay. So I took stuff from there, and like you said, the angel names and all that. And I figured the best way to get to know the angels and what they were really about was to take God away and see like what they did on their own. That's why.
Yeah, it definitely deals with some pretty heavy concepts. Tell us a little bit about your ideas for character designs, like especially your angels, because they definitely have like a very, you know, Roman gladiator kind of feel to them.
Yeah, I had just told Matt I wanted it to look like these were once like really beautiful beings. There are different races of angels, so like the miracle angels are really beautiful and more classic looking, and the warrior angels are more like soldiers. They look like foot soldiers, and I just wanted them to look like they had once been beautiful and had kind of been torn down as the years went on, and now they're a little ragged. They've got some scars. And Matt, how did you? And then you took it from there and made them.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, great. Something that was once beautiful and now is like all ragged with scars. Got it.
I can do that. What kind of things did you look at for inspiration when you were you know, drawing this comic book out?
What the hell was I looking at when I did this? So I think it was like some of like the Lord of the Rings stuff. Mm-hmm. You know when those like what else was I looking at? You got me. You stumped me now. Come back to me. No.
Man, I'm actually curious because a lot of your demons, because we never really talked about what the demons were going to look like very much, but all of the demons in the book kind of have a uniform look, like they look like they're of the same race. I'm just wondering if that's from a specific thing.
Okay, you want me to like totally ruin it and make this character possibly less cool, and we're gonna have to revamp him in the next one?
No, I don't want that to happen.
Remember?
I want to hear
Remember
that.
Okay, remember Gargoyle's Quest from Nintendo?
Yes.
I tried to make Asmodeus a cooler looking version of Firebrand. Ruined it, didn't I? Now we have to redo that whole character.
Start over.
It reminded me of reading like Alien vs Predator and Judge Dredd vs Predator comics as I was a kid, like those big bulky characters and all the blood and the gore.
Mm-hmm.
It really like harkened back to like that idea of like these are like forbidden comics, and then the fact that it's religious on top of that was like I just love the idea and the concept and how it all came together. It was really nice.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What this obviously dealing with some very religious biblical aspects. How have you had any weird responses to this book as a result of that?
No, we haven't actually.
That's
I
good.
think it's I think it's the way it's done.
I'm sending a copy to Westboro right now.
Yeah, here they come. What were you gonna say, Mike? I'm sorry.
I'd read Preacher before, which is like really like heavy and intense, and I think it's just the way you write it. Like the religious mythology is there, but it's not. You're not really preaching at people. It's just kind of the backdrop for your story.
Yeah.
If anything, this book made me not want to be religious. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. This is crazy. There's always going to be some demon or angel around me. There's so many people. I feel so claustrophobic all the time. That's probably
My message
why.
is being received.
They're like germs. They're everywhere. Well, how far are you guys into this story?
So this is book one of a 5-part story.
Okay. When does the next part come out, and what can we expect from that?
The next book I'm super excited about because I originally wrote the pilot was the first 2 books, so I had it all laid out, and a lot of the stuff I build in book 1 gets paid off in book 2. And you haven't read anything, Matt, have you? Of book 2?
No, I'm in the dark on book 2 still.
All right.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Spoiler alert.
I've been working with the publishers since January, and so like we had a full outline done, and then I just finished the layout for chapter 1. So the layout's completely done. We just don't have funding right now to start bringing in Matt and the letterer, Oceana Ransford, who, shout out, is phenomenal and amazing.
He is awesome.
Yeah, the letter is a weird thing. Like, they're so crucial, and he did one panel in particular, and I don't remember what it was, but he like cornered the lettering perfectly, and it ended right on the panel, and it didn't look weird, and it felt like it covered the space really nicely, and that kind of stuff, it can be really distracting if it's done improperly, and the lettering was really nice in that book, and because it's so chaotic, because Matt's art is just crazy and insane.
Thanks. Yeah, I have this problem with like feeling like I have to fill up every single quarter inch of a panel like with something like it. I never leave room for a letterer, and it's like a complete pain in the ass every time I do something. I don't know what it is, but I always feel like if there's one blank spot, I'm like, oh, this is perfect for a word balloon. I have to like splatter something there or do something, and it's just like ridiculous. But Yano, like, I don't even have to like wonder what he's gonna do or go over anything. Like, look at it. After the first time I saw what he did, it's just like, oh, dude, I can trust this guy for anything. Like, I've done a couple of things with him since, and I mean, I would love to get with him on whatever I do in the future. I mean, I'm looking forward to this second book because it's like, as soon as we give it to Yano, I feel like we don't even have to, nobody has to tell him anything. It's like an art form with him lettering. It's awesome watching what he does.
Yeah, he's amazing. Because I worked with Matt, like he said, I had thought about visually the world a lot, but I knew very little about lettering. So I didn't give Yano a lot of input. He just kind of created it on his own, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Making magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a good letterer does.
That's right.
Matt, I gotta tell you, hold on, Will. Sorry, I gotta interrupt again. My favorite page of yours and my favorite layout I think I've seen in a long time in any comic book, whether it's been from DC or Marvel, is the one where oh my god, I'm gonna ruin their names. Is it Azrael?
Yeah.
Z.
Yeah.
Azrael is killing Hale, right?
Yes.
And it's like this, and he's like the slash marks are like filling in as the battle is happening, or as he's killing him.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite. I love that layout.
And I'll tell you something about that
gorgeous.
layout. That was Mike's layout. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Didn't you lay that page out?
Yeah, it did.
You did. That's a Mike Poisson layout, exclusive.
Oh, that's
first.
See,
Damn.
that's the layout that gets you paid. Like those are layouts that like just nobody, even Marvel would be like afraid to do, or they're being much better about it, especially in Hawkeye and stuff. But like DC does not do layouts like that. No fucking way would they do a layout like that. So it's really cool, and I really love it when artists and writers get creative with the layouts, because when you read 100 comics a year, like seeing just square boxes all the time gets kind of like tiring.
Yeah, that's for me, and that was like one of my most interesting pages, I thought too. And on this project, it was like the approach Mike took was kind of like he showed me where he wanted the panels to go when we were setting it up, and a lot of the time sometimes he would be way more specific, like he was on that particular page, and it just worked like phenomenally. Like he just set it up for me exactly where he wanted Azrael and the slashes and the last panel and everything, and it just worked great.
I wanted to ask you guys a question, because there's a really interesting concept. The character I really like for some reason. The character of Metatron. This kind of idea, almost like they're
Worst job ever, by the way.
Yeah.
you know,
That'd
see
be
him
the
on the
worst.
page, and he kind of reminded me of that goblin from Labyrinth that had all the trash on her back.
Oh, yeah.
So where did the whole concept of kind of there's almost like a Frankenstein element to this in a certain part? Where did all that come about from?
He's Chunk from the Goonies.
Yeah, exactly.
Being punished.
Chunk and Trash Lady.
Mike, there was a couple extra things in there that it kind of just happened as we went along. Didn't we kind of like accidentally stumble on like I guess I don't want to ruin anything, but the parts on his back sort of helping him out as he would stitch things up?
Yeah, that was all you. That was Matt Jacobs. I had thought that because he's so busy and he's in this graveyard area, he would carry some stuff with him on his back to help. Just like really quickly, he needs an ear. Like I'll pull this ear out from my like little satchel. And then Matt did a panel where there was this fucking angel's head sticking out of the mask, like handing him the ear. And I was like, Matt, that's amazing. And then we used that.
That was hilarious.
From, like, there on out.
And that just came from me like misreading Mike's writing. I was like, I thought you said that the hand was like holding, because that's a great idea, man.
Mike, why do you hate angels so much? Why would you make them being all cut up all the time?
I wrote this because I don't identify as Catholic anymore, and I was just in a really bad place in my life, and I was angry that my faith was like not there, and this came out of that, and I'm scared to death that I'm gonna die, and the angels are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, no, we're not gonna help you now.
They're gonna hold it up and be like, "Hey, what was all this about?"
Yeah, no.
Downstairs
for you. You're out of here.
So is there anybody in this book who was inspired? Obviously, it's kind of a weird question because of the subject matter, but anybody in this book that was inspired by people in your real life?
No, I don't think so. Metatron's one of my favorite just because he's so happy, and I think we all have those people in our lives who are just like ridiculously happy for no reason. Like they're in the worst throes of like despair, but they've like always got a smile on. And I mean, the book needed some comedy, like relief and some lightheartedness in it, so I thought that was a good place. But yeah, no one was really like inspired by anyone in particular.
I'm kind of like the Metatron in my world, I think.
Are you guys sure there's not a Transformer named Metatron?
It sounds like
come after you.
Right? Yeah, that's an actual angel name. That's an old school Jewish angel name.
Oh, wow. See, religion and me are just like water and oil. Like
Metatron, like have some big wings that transform into like a shield or something.
Oh, that's a great idea for the 5th book.
Yeah.
Metatron.
I am Metatron.
Metatron rejuvenates.
Just goes around fixing other Autobots and stuff.
All the bodies start forming on him like a magnet, and he turns into a giant flesh transformer.
That's awesome. This book is super amazing. Where can we find book one?
Book one is available online at fanboycomics.net, and then if you're in Los Angeles, it's in quite a few local comic book stores around LA.
That's awesome. So, Mike, tell us what other stuff have you worked on besides this beautiful book?
This is the only comic book I have worked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you wrote this as a pilot, right?
Yeah, I wrote it as a television pilot and then adapted it into a graphic novel after.
Have you pitched this to anybody?
No, I had a meeting with some rather, I don't know if I can, I suppose I can. A meeting with Lakeshore, who did I, Frankenstein.
Okay.
Because they were interested, but ultimately it was too close visually to I, Frankenstein, which broke my heart for so many reasons.
It's probably a good thing, Mike.
but it is available if anyone out there is looking for something.
How about you, Matt? What else have you worked on?
I did a few Image one-shots earlier on. A book called Bedlam back in the day before this Bedlam was out. There was a Bedlam before, created by Keith Giffen and Shannon Denton. I drew that. Another one called Tabula Rasa was another one-shot from Image. And the three of us also did a couple of Grunts miniseries for Arcana. I did a miniseries called Prototype. Remember the Prototype video game?
I don't.
Any of you guys out there?
It sounds familiar. I mean, I've played.
It's a couple years old now. One of like the kind of like a Grand Theft Auto thing, but you can run up buildings and.
Is that the one where he like had a virus and like he was like the Hulk? Oh fuck yeah, I know what that is. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Wildstorm did a miniseries of that, and I got to work over top of Derek Robertson was doing like breakdowns, and he was giving me so much freedom over his pencils. It was amazing, man. It was cool. It was great. And I ended up doing a little bit of ink work on the boys after that. Currently, what am I doing currently? Oh, I just finished on a remember the rock and roll comics from the 90s?
No.
Anybody?
Enlighten us.
Really? Okay. I'm alone there. Well, anyway, they're Acme Inc. is bringing back the rock and roll comics that none of us have heard of from the 90s.
We're all. And
I've just finished up on the second issue of that, which is, for me, is cool because it's a Faith No More, Mr. Bungle split.
Oh, cool.
And Sinclair Clergish, now I'm screwing up people's names, is drawing the second half. Mike Wellman wrote both of them. And for me, just as like a huge Mike Patton fan and Faith No More, Mr. Bungle fan, to get to draw those guys and that stuff was a lot of fun. It was pretty awesome.
That's sweet. So I have a question that I don't think we've ever asked this question, but oh yeah, you asked it every once in a while, Casey. If we'll start with you, Matt, since we're just talking to you. If you could work on any type of book, create art for any superhero, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. I gotta look around my room and see if I can find anything that I want to revamp.
I see Mike over there thinking about this too.
I know. They got me with this one first, Mike. At least you got the description of the book. Batman always looks like something that would be fun, I guess. I'm probably going to give a really bad answer. Obviously, like, I'm way into, like, what'd be funny is to take something that was really lighthearted and nice and turn it into something gritty and disgusting, like Jason versus Swamp Thing, but it would be like Alvin and the Chipmunks or something like that. Anybody want to play off of me?
I'm sure Disney would love that. How about Power Rangers versus what were the Beetleborgs?
There you go. And there could be beheadings and severed limbs and blood and guts everywhere.
Yes.
I'd be down for that.
you just need to have the cover be like the Green Ranger with like a beetle severed head in his hand. How about you, Mike? What's your dream project?
It would probably be an X-Men project. I love it intensely. I'm still reading all new X-Men specifically right now. I'm loving, so it'd probably be something like that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, speaking of that, that's a good segue to go into. This is usually the spot in the show where we go around and talk about what we're reading, whether it's in comics or novels, or if you're not reading, what are you watching? Casey, how about you go first? I get to tell you to go first now.
I'm gonna go really fast because I didn't read that much because I was traveling for work and doing a bunch of shit. So,
Yeah.
but fuck man, I had to buy 2 3D covers. I know I railed against them last week.
What did you buy?
Well, I bought Batgirl, and that's just because I'm a sucker and I have a daughter. So everything I buy, anytime there's like a special like female superhero cover, I'll try to get it for her.
Right.
So I got that one, which is I didn't even read it yet. Probably won't.
Yeah.
And I also got Batman, and I just got that because it's just my regular comic. So nothing out of the ordinary. But there was the comic store I went to in San Jose. They were offering all 30 of them or all 10 of them for each week. So you could buy like the whole pack for $30.
Oh.
I was like, oh shit! I really should have done that while I was there. So if you live in San Jose, that's a pretty good deal, and that'll guarantee you all those covers. Because I know last time DC did this, there was a couple of them that went for a lot of money. Yeah. So what I read? I read Death of Wolverine #2, which was good. I really like the Death of stories because all the villains like come out of the woodwork. So you guys know how much I love the villain stuff. So we get to see a couple of his main villains show up in the comic, and they have some nice scenes. So that's fun. He looks like the Mandarin in the first couple pages, which is kind of off-putting. I'll try to find it real quick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you get it, Will? Did you read it?
No, man, dude.
No.
I did not get to read that.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Does he look like the Mandarin, or is it just me? Yeah. So I don't know. It was a fun story. I know. Bad radio.
This is a very visual show, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see this?
Matt's gonna take his shirt off in the second half.
I've been nodding my head the whole time too. For all my answers.
Man, what did I read? So Death of Wolverine was cool. I read Billy the Pyro #3, which I'm still enjoying. A very teenage angsty story. It's very like 90s and Nirvana, so it's fun. I like it. I wish I was a teenager again.
Yeah.
especially when they could light shit on fire with my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. Man, I really didn't read that much this week. I read Project Lunar 1942.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the Comic Fix app, which I am still enjoying very thoroughly. And that was a story about kind of like an MIB story, but like the first MIB, like the origin story of the MIB, but not the MIB or Men in Black or whatever.
Right.
So that was cool, and it kind of weaves in a bunch of conspiracy theory stuff and like men living on the moon and using it as a satellite and Roswell and all that stuff. So I love all that conspiracy theory. I can't wait until we get invaded by aliens. It's gonna be like the best day of my life. So anything.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem. We're gonna know how to beat them already, right?
Yeah. No, after we become their slaves, maybe. But please, if you could travel through the galaxy, you're gonna whoop the shit out of us, no matter how. I mean,
true.
We just got the cell phone thing like 2 years ago down.
Those aliens, man, they have like an iPhone 12 already.
Yeah, they're way ahead.
They're on like 20G right now.
So anything that has to deal with that conspiracy and aliens coming, I'm just all about anyway. So I'm just a terrible critic when it comes to that. You probably shouldn't take my judgment and read it and just read it for yourself. 'Cause I'm gonna love it either way. Whenever green men are involved and the taking over a world, I'm all for it.
You are on board.
I am. I watched Captain America 2 again just because I just love that movie so much.
We're gonna talk about that, yeah, in a minute.
Later.
Cool.
Terrible comic book reader this week.
Hey, you did better than me. Mike, what are you up to right now? What are you reading or watching or enjoying?
I'm going on a Matt Fraction Ben because I just finished the first Hawkeye trade paperback, which was awesome. And then
So good.
someone said, yeah, then someone said Sex Criminals was great. So I'm in the middle of the first paperback of Sex Criminals, which is
What a crazy concept.
yeah. It reminds me a lot of Black Hole, just like the idea of like you're going through like your sexual awakening and like what that means, and like just substituting in powers for just horrible awkwardness. I think is smart for everyone. Um,
If I could do that, I would be just masturbating constantly.
So okay, I don't know about this book. So what exactly is this book about?
Oh yeah, that was way out of context.
So, Sex Criminals is you start off with this woman who basically every time she orgasms, she kind of has the ability to freeze time around her for however I think it's like 9 minutes. It's like a prolonged period of time, and she finds this guy who also has the same power. So every time he orgasms, he can like stop time around him. So they like end up hooking up, and I'm not that far into it, but I'm assuming they rob banks. I think isn't one of the early issues. So they
Yeah.
have sex in the bank. Everything freezes, and then they like run out to take all the money and stuff.
Yeah,
That's what any normal person would do, really.
That brings up a whole like new slew of like pickup lines. You're like, hey baby, let's stop time together. All right.
But yeah, it's really great. I recommend it. It's awesome. And I'm super late to the Doctor Who party, but I'm going through old seasons on Netflix. I'm on season 3 right now, and I'm just trying to fly through them as fast as I can. But it's really good, and I'm David Tennant.
Are you a Nuvian? A new Whovian?
I am. I just started a month or two ago. Everyone just kept talking about it, and I finally jumped on board, and I'm glad I did. It's fun.
I've honestly I've seen maybe like 3 episodes of Doctor Who, and I'm like, I think I need to like actually sit and watch it when there's not like my buddy's like 3-year-old kid running around screaming. But because it was a little bit much for me to handle in between looking at the kid going, what is he doing now? Like
Yeah. No, you just have to accept everything you see on Doctor Who. You're like, okay, trash cans are chasing them. Fine. Like, fine. I'm good with that. And once you do that, once you let it go, then it's great.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, Matt. What do you got going on?
You know what? I've been so busy myself. I haven't been reading much lately. I like, you know what? This is crazy. I really like that new Ghost Rider, the first run that Trad Moore did. I'm a sucker for his artwork. I love
it's
the
so
Luther
good.
Strode stuff that he did. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this looks ridiculous. I saw that he was drawing it, and then I read it, and I thought it was great, man. I thought that new Ghost Rider thing was great. It was really entertaining for me. The Wake is over. I really like The Wake. I'm a nut for Sean Murphy as well. Did you guys pick that up at all?
No, I'm gonna wait for the trade to come out, but I'm a huge Scott Snyder fan, so
Yeah,
definitely
both
check
of
that
them
out
together are just incredible.
but back to Ghost Rider. That
Yeah.
comic book is amazing. And
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, the way he handles movement and the action is so innovative and so new and so bright and colorful. I really, really hope if they ever like reboot a movie, that's the story that they go with. Because it's on a West Coast, which is something you never get in Marvel anymore, or very rarely. So.
And I think doing that to that character has a tendency for people to rip it. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't Ghost Rider. What the fuck is this? But to me, I think. I mean, I guess that almost was my first. You look at it at first glance, and we as comic book fans tend to think we know everything, and that our opinion is the only one that matters, and it looks like shit immediately to us. And then you see, I'm like, oh, it's Trad Morris, so I open it up, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's not something you want to read on acid either. Don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, man. But his movement in those panels, like you were saying, like it feels like you're watching a cartoon. Sometimes he's so good at that.
Yeah, it's amazing, and like I said, for it being a dark like a Ghost Rider comic, it's so bright and colorful, and the sun's always shining, and everything happens kind of when it happens, most in the daytime and in the nighttime. So it's really, I just really enjoyed it, and the characters are really fun too. So.
Yeah, those thug characters. I mean, the guy ODs and he starts sprouting new arms. I mean, it's insane. There's a new Ted McKeever book out through Image that I picked up the first couple and haven't gotten around to start reading it. It's like the Superannuated Man. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like a follow-up to the Miniature Jesus thing he did.
No, I'm not
What's a
familiar.
miniature Jesus?
The Miniature Jesus was really good, and his stuff, his writing and his art, I'm just a big fan of. He's really he's kind of cryptic, but it's like his artwork is just insane. It's something to look like super realistic 1 minute and then like more abstract than the most abstract Sam Keith panel in the next. Like, it's crazy. He just is all over the place with his art. It's really good stuff. And then the newest thing that I did get about a week ago, so I did get to stop in the comic shop once recently, and that was the new Tower Chronicles that Matt Wagner's writing and Simon Bisley's doing. The last one, I think, like, they made a mistake of putting a really clean, like, it looked like a Scott Williams type inker over top of Bisley and just cleaned him up, and it was just sparkling, and it didn't look what you would expect. And you open this one and it's those gritty pencils with the shit all over it, and it looks really cool. So, and Matt Wagner's great. Matt Wagner's always great too. So that's one of the newer books that I thought was really cool that's out right now.
By the way, Miniature Jesus refers to be called Little People Jesus now.
He makes up a very small percent of the population.
Yeah. He's a little person, thank you. Cool. Well, I was really bad this week and read nothing except for The Arcs, which is an amazing book.
All right, good for you.
Yeah, that's a good one to read.
About angels and demons and gore and blood. Please check it out, because it's awesome. But since I didn't get to read anything, I've been like full-on cosplay mode this week. There's a cosplay convention that I'm entering this weekend, or a cosplay contest I'm entering this weekend at a convention in Tulare, which is about 45 minutes. So I've been neck deep in all things Worbla and foam and kind of learning some new skills, and it's fun. I've gotten a few cuts on my hands and burned some fingertips, and hey, it's kind of what you do.
So you're creating the entire thing yourself?
Yeah, this is like actually the first costume that I've done that's like, I would say 90% done by me. There's a couple things I had to buy, obviously, like pistols that I modified and stuff like that. But there was one piece that I had a friend make for me. But other than that, it's all being done by me. So I figure I'm earning my way into this costume contest. Yeah, Matt wasn't here earlier. I'm working on the comedian from The Watchmen.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, which is
this I do gotta see.
Yes, which is one of my all-time favorite graphic novels. Who doesn't love The Watchmen? I don't think there's enough love out there for The Watchmen, so
terrible.
I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back. But besides that, let's talk about The Winter Soldier, since that came out this week. What can we say about The Winter Soldier that hasn't already been said? Because it's freaking
terrible.
Awesome. It's horrible. It sucks. It's the worst Marvel movie ever. That movie is so, just so on its own level. Just in the Marvel Cinematic Universe alone, it's just a completely different movie. I think it worked so well, and I think I've said this before. It deals with some very, some topics that we could be dealing with our government right now. We don't know if our government necessarily has our best interests involved, and there's all kinds of things working on behind the scenes.
Wait a second. You're telling me the government doesn't have our best interests involved? I'm not going to listen to this, Will. At all.
Yeah, it's horrible. But did you watch the gag reel? Any of you guys watch the gag reel on that?
No.
You have to watch that. It's hilarious. Surprised we're not walking around going cut the check yet. But anyways, Casey, thoughts on that?
Man, I don't know. I just really, people give a lot of shit to the Winter Soldier as being like a know-nothing villain, but I think he's a fantastic villain, mainly because he's like the fucking Terminator for the Marvel Universe, and he literally says 10 words, like the whole movie.
It's true.
I counted.
You don't even realize that.
Yeah,
I don't realize it.
But the action scenes that he does, and the choreography that he does, and the gravitas that he carries, and the score every time he walks into the room, and just like the the fact that he can stand up to Captain America no problem, and in fact beat him. I don't think Captain America never really beat him. The Helicarrier beat him.
Yeah.
It's just a cool idea, and then the fact that he eventually, spoiler alert, will become Captain America someday himself, and then
Right.
that whole journey and having to go back and deal with like all the people he murdered while he was the Winter Soldier, and while at the same time being Captain America. It's just such an intriguing idea, and it's such a great example of how Marvel is building this universe and how it's going to last for years and years beyond what it's already become.
Yeah. I think some other companies, we won't say names, really need to start looking at.
Okay. We got to stop this because we're going to be the DC hater podcast. We should just change it now.
We
Hey,
hate everything.
I'm like,
Everything sucks except what we like.
yes, all of it. Yeah, it's just obviously this it's all connected, so it works. You know what I mean? It all works so well. We can use that as a jumping point to some news. I know you're excited. This week, it was announced that the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to have a big role in Avengers 3.
I didn't hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Will.
Casey, hey, that was posted news all over the place. Now you're batting 1,000 on your comic book movie predictions. I'm gonna say.
I wouldn't say 1,000.
All right, you're doing pretty well. So what does that mean, Casey? Exactly. What do you think? How are they going to end up in Avengers 3?
Well, I'm sure, like I said, I really think that Avengers 3 is going to be something unprecedented and something that they're keeping very, very close to the vest and something they're very much already working on and maybe much further in development than we think it is. I really do think it's going to be a two-part movie, and it's not even going to be called In fact, I think we may get an Avengers 3 and then an Infinity Gauntlet movie as two separate things. I don't know if that will happen, but I assume Avengers 3 will be called the Infinity Gauntlet Part 1 and 2. Because you are going to have to involve the Guardians of the Galaxy because it encompasses so much of their world and they're so much intertwined with Thanos. And then you're going to have the Avengers and their entire team. And then you're going to have supposedly a new Avengers team that Captain America is going to put together at the end of Age of Ultron, spoiler alert. I would say spoiler after I say it. So you're gonna have this massive amount of heroes to deal with, and on top of that, Thanos and all the craziness that involves the Infinity Gems and the powers that they behold and what he can do with those, and the effects behind that, and the gravitas and the amount of world building and destroying that can hold, and he literally can change the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe with a snap of his fingers once that gauntlet's controlled. So, I mean, really, that movie hinges on everything from now until the future of Marvel. So I think it's just going to be this massive thing that it's got to be a two-part movie. It has to be. So I think that's how they'll be able to deal with it. And the way the Guardians of the Galaxy fit in all that stuff is, like I said, they have an intertwined relationship with Thanos. Drax supposedly will have a huge role in the movie, and you assume that he will be the one that will go toe-to-toe with Thanos eventually, and maybe rip out his heart like he does in the comics.
Sweet. That is awesome. Our esteemed guests, I'm always curious to find out what people in the industry think about current Marvel goings on. What are you guys looking forward to or excited about that news?
For Marvel is so crazy good at what they're doing right now because they're not only tying all their movies together, but like their TV shows that they're doing and like the stuff in Captain America 2 affected the Shield TV show, and It's just crazy. It's insane that they can do all that, and I want them to just make a movie that's like just fucking everybody, and it's just like all like 100 actors they have with all their people just like running around shooting each other.
That'd be a long list of credits.
And we haven't even mentioned the Netflix stuff yet. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Avengers 3 is definitely going to incorporate those characters as well. So that that movie has to I think that's what exactly going to be. It's going to be their huge finale. It's going to be two parts, and it's going to be a world like a reset. So that way they can reboot after that. It's going to have been 10, 12 years since Iron Man came out at that point.
Right.
So I don't know. Sorry to step on your stuff, Mike.
That's alright. I was done.
Okay. So speaking of TV shows, Casey, what else was in the news about some particular shows?
It came out literally hours before we recorded the podcast that apparently a Teen Titans TV show is in development at TNT. So that is exciting because once again, it is a group of superheroes that is kind of unique and has a lot of potential for storytelling, but also would seem to carry a heavy burden on special effects. And especially with you have like Beast Boy and Cyborg and stuff, and then again, apparently Cyborg is going to be in the movie as well. So then you have that confusing thing where you're going to have a character from the TV show that's in the movie, but they're not the same character.
Two different actors.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we're about to get like bitch slapped with a bunch of DC TV shows here in like the next month. I think Gotham starts up in a couple weeks, and then right after that, Constantine starts up on around Halloween.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a good kind of first test because I assume that characters I assume that Zatanna will show up on Constantine, and she's gonna have to show up on Arrow if she hasn't already, or the Flash at some point as well.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Same with apparently Harley Quinn is off limits, so I don't expect that to happen.
Why
which
is she
means
off limits?
Well, see, there's another thing. So there's a rumor that's always kind of gone around with DC, where whenever movies are in development, those characters are off limits for the TV show.
Okay.
So that's why when Batman or when Smallville was on, he was never allowed to wear the Superman suit because that was part of that like unsaid agreement. Like Superman's not allowed to be on TV. We have Superman Returns in development.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they had the J.J. Abrams Superman thing in development at that time as well at some point. Right. So they just have this rule where he's never allowed to show up. I think even Batman, like there was a Birds of Prey episode where supposedly Batman was like there, but they couldn't show him. He was just like in the shadow somewhere, maybe I think. So they have these weird rules where if TV stuff is if they're going to use a character in the movie, they don't want him on TV as well. So like I said, it's interesting to see how they handle that with Flash and those other things. So who knows? I just don't know what they're doing. Like I really don't, and I don't think anybody does.
Like they do.
Yeah, and we gotta first look at the Batmobile, and
yeah,
like it has giant cannons on the front of it. Like what the fuck? Like.
Mike, I see you smiling over there. What did you think about the new Batmobile?
I didn't see the picture with the cannons, but it makes sense. If you have a giant car and you're fighting evil in Gotham, you might as well put cannons on it, right?
But I mean, Casey, you thinking that's too much overkill or what?
Well, I just like they do this, and even they did it in the Dark Knight too, and it's just ridiculous. But Batman always has this thing like no guns, no guns, no guns, no guns.
Yeah, it's true.
In every movie, he's had guns on everything, and I don't know if he has guns in the comics so much, even on the cars, which it doesn't really matter. But even then, they always have to like explain it because like they're like oh, it's rubber bullets. Well, if you're shooting a rubber bullet from a .50 caliber cannon, like it's gonna fucking kill you. Like, sorry.
It's still gonna hurt.
Yeah. Like brain damage is imminent. So like I don't like the way they have to kind of like explain away that stuff, and they do it like there's a game coming out too called Arkham Knight, and the Batmobiles look almost exactly the same.
It looks exact. I was just gonna say that. I mean, do you think it's the same thing? I mean,
well, no, I think like
don't the tires do the side thing like that too?
Yeah, well, yeah. In the game, there's like a mechanic reason for it. That's for everyone here, and they're not gonna care about that. But yeah, it's very weird that they have a similar design. I don't know if that was by like on purpose or just like happenstance, like right. You know, like if it was just coincidence. But just the idea of like the fact that he has guns and he's shooting things and like he's not gonna kill people. Like, come on, dude. Yeah. Like you just blew up half a building. Like no one died.
People are gonna die. We're getting back to the Man of Steel thing here again.
So it gets very like touchy. That's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna like set these ideals for these superheroes and have them not kill people, like the rules should apply at all times, not just when you feel like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not just when it's convenient for you. Cool. What else? What other big news stories do we have this week?
I'm looking right now, and they just released a bunch of pictures from the set of Star Wars. And I have such an issue.
Oh man, what's your issue?
Well, if you're having to take like satellite photos and like blow them up, like really, like is that what we're doing now? We're blowing up satellite pictures. X-wings and Millennium Falcons. So if you want to see, there's pictures of X-wings and Millennium Falcons, and the interesting Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And the interesting about the pictures is the X-wings seem to be like customized.
Right.
So they're like not like Rebel colors. They're like customized to like the driver. So that's cool. Like there's a black one, and there's like a blue one and a blue and gray one. So I don't know. I don't like it's Latino Review. Like they just like posting shit.
So they're not official pictures. They're just from a satellite.
No, they're literally from like a helicopter or a satellite. Like they like in fact, I would not be surprised if like they pulled these off like Google Images and just like blew them up. Like that's what it looks like. It's no joke. But just the fact that like
in the neighbor kid's yard.
Yeah, like it's
did somebody hijack the Hubble just so they could take pictures of Star Wars Episode 7 sets?
At this point, I would not be surprised. Like I feel like the amount of attention and like want we're giving to these like scoop things, like and scoops that like don't really mean anything or just conjecture or literally just someone talking in a room and like an intern overheard it and decided to tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
Like that's like to put like the superhero, like the Legion of Superheroes rumor, like that literally they are talking about making a movie. They fucking talk about making everything into a movie. That's not fucking news. Like sorry, it's not. Like I'm sure they've talked about making like a fucking like remaking like Indian in the Cupboard like 20 times. Like it's not like news. Like it's ridiculous.
Well, we've talked about making 3 movies in the last 45 minutes. I mean.
Yeah. So like just the fact that the fact that this is becoming like so high demand that we need a helicopter image and we're having like super telephoto lens, like aren't there wars happening? Like aren't there like you know what I mean? Like aren't there things worth reporting that aren't like pictures of plastic models? Like seriously, like I'm a huge geek, but like I just feel like this is wasted energy and time and money that like is it really worth it? Like really? Like I don't know. Yeah. And then we all feed into it. Like we're fucking talking about it.
No, there's the irony of the whole thing.
It's terrible, and it's really, this is just a long conversation that goes to somebody else, but it's just where media is heading in general, and like just like rich white people problems. We have no problems in America anymore. We just have none. Like, there's nothing. Like no one's starving anymore. Like apparently all of our problems are solved, and we all live in a giant utopia because we can just spend our time
worried about Star Wars.
Yeah, worried about like what color the X-wing is going to be. Like really, like who fucking cares? Like you didn't think there were going to be X-wings in Star Wars? Like come on, people! Like you didn't think the Millennium Falcon was going to show up? Like was this news to everybody?
Yeah.
Like get out of here.
I don't even know, man. Awesome. Well, on that note,
it's all ranty for a second.
You know, I think we freaked out our guests a little bit.
Yeah, the guests got really quiet.
We came full circle. We got dice on the X-wing.
Hey!
So I'm with this chick, and we went to see Star Wars, right?
Dude, that sounds awesome.
And she's like, why does the X-wing look fucking yellow?
Because it's Star Wars. Everything is old, okay? What do you think? It's going to be brand new?
Oh!
Matt, you have a career in impressions, my friend.
Matt won an impression contest recently, right?
What?
Yeah, on the Stern Show. I was on the Howard Stern Show a couple months ago.
What?
Now you have to.
Why are we talking about that?
It was fucking insane, man. It was insane. I couldn't even believe that it happened. It started as a goof. My friends were like, send in a tape, a high-pitch Eric, because they were having like an impression contest. They did it as a goof, man. And like I sit up all night drawing, so I'll usually turn Stern on live, you know, when it comes on at 3 on the West Coast feed. And it's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm sitting there drawing, and I hear Howard Stern say my fucking name.
What?
And then I hear my impression that I'm like walking around outside doing this goofy like, hello, this is Ricardo, what? And they're doing like a high-pitch Eric voice. And so I'm kind of like a little bit nervous there for a week or two, and I get an email from Jason Kaplan, and they flew me out to New York. We had like an impression contest. It was me doing a high-pitched Eric character who nobody barely in the world has heard of, and against like Jackie Mason and Gilbert Godfrey, and I ended up taking it. I was almost a landslide. I got everyone's vote except Fred Norris.
Oh,
Well, Gilbert probably just did an impression of the duck from Affleck, right?
Yeah. Yes.
He spent the whole episode doing Iago from Aladdin. Oh my God! I think I'm gonna die and have a heart attack from that surprise.
Wait a minute! I was going up against you in that contest.
So what did you win? Did you win anything?
5 Gs.
Nice, man.
Yeah. It was amazing, man. It was like you go in there and you like sit like Ronnie the limo driver lets us in the door, and already I'm just like we're all like blown away. We were all like Stern super fans, and you're sitting in the green room. They give us headphones, and you're watching the show in the green room like you're watching the E! Show or Howard TV. And I mean, I kind of like been watching that since like high school,
Yeah.
And then you walk in the room and you're standing in front of Howard and Robin and Fred, and it was like I was in fucking shock. It was like a blackout. Like I had a Frank the Tank fucking blackout, and I woke up in the green room and I won.
You're like, wait, what happened? Is this bad?
Yeah, but it was cool. Like we were walking out, and Mike Judge was right across the hall because he was on right after us.
Oh, that's
So I was like, "Hey, Mike Judge," and they slammed the door. Like, get away from the guests. No, it wasn't like that. But and then we just kind of like shuffled out of there, and it was amazing, man. It was a once in a lifetime kind of thing.
It's pretty awesome. I don't know where we can go after that, man. Casey, is there anything else? Any other major news bits you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. Yeah, that's really that's a really hard thing to top right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll start. We'll wrap it up, guys. At the end of the show, we always like to give everybody about a minute to do a final thought. So if you want to plug something, you want to tell us to check some website out, tell us about your new finger painting that you're doing, whatever you want. It's your floor. So, Mike, why don't
Hey,
you...
wait. Are you telling me finger painting is an art? Because I've been working 10, 15 years
You're trying to make a name, I know.
on my finger painting comic, and now you're telling me I shouldn't.
It'll
trash.
get there, buddy. Keep trying. You'll get there.
Someone should finger paint a comic.
Yeah.
We should make that happen.
Let's do it. So, Mike, what do you got for us?
I don't know. I think just check out the arcs if you like big, epic, gory stuff, and so that we can get some money to make the second book. And yeah, thanks to Matt and Yano, our letterer, and Fanboy Comics, Barbara, Bryant, and Sam, who are phenomenal and are the reason that the book got made. That's all I got.
Mike, where can we find you on the beautiful World Wide Web?
I don't have things. I don't have a website or a Twitter. I've got nothing. So
You don't have things?
so I'll find you, I guess.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, can you talk about anything you're developing in TV? No. Maybe a little hint.
Not my company, but I'm writing a spec script that's a half-hour dark comedy musical. That's basically if Wednesday Addams grew up and like was a psychopath, but a musical as well. And that's what I'm working on.
I had such a crush on Wednesday Addams.
She's great.
I had a bigger crush on Wednesday Addams when she was played by Christina Ricci. She was hot in a weird, creepy way.
Was that after you watched Black Snake Moan?
Surprisingly, it was before.
Luckiest 30-year-old on the planet.
Yep. Matt, what do you got? Where can we find you? What do you want to tell us about?
Let's see. What do we got here? On the interwebs, you can find us. Actually, go check out thearcscomic.com.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for reminding me what our actual website is.
I benefit from getting them to ask you first, and I can think of things while I'm listening to you. I didn't get that liberty on a couple questions. Thearcscomic.com. You can check us out there in Fanboy Comics. What else? I look for that the Faith No More, Mr. Bungle Rock comic that I was talking to you about from Acme Inc. should be coming out in December. It should be in the October previews from what I heard today.
Awesome.
I'm Matt Jacobs Art on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those hip things that the kids are doing now. And let's see, what else? Is there anything else I could talk about? Oh, this is a little old now, about a year, but go check out the music video for Tomahawk's Oddfellows, and I did a lot of animation in that, man, and we did like old school, like really grainy 2D pen and ink, dropped it over live footage, but Ipecac Records put it out, Patton's record label, and we did some fun stuff over that. We were kind of disfiguring the band members as they, over top of the like live stuff of them. And it's like, it's kind of a super group of guys from like Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, and the Jesus Lizard, and Battles, and Helmet, the original Helmet drummer. So
Nice.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah, sounds very cool.
And I think that covers it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Mr. Walsh?
I don't know. I have nothing.
I
already ranted once.
You want to tell us all about our beautiful websites where people should go check out?
Yeah, so everyone should go to geeksandwives.com. We're always posting fantastic comic book, video game stuff. What's up there right now? There's a great article about Concrete Park, which came out from Dark Horse. There is some stuff about some costumes. I did costume reviews. I made my wife and daughter dress up in Halloween costumes, and then we took pictures and did reviews for Costume Supercenter, so those are there. They're very good. I think actually the Elsa one, I did a review of Elsa costume, and I think that's actually the best review I've ever written. I don't know why, but it's really good. So go read that if you're a parent, I guess. If you're not a parent and you read that, you're probably a little bit creepy. You're buying a 3-year-old Elsa costume for yourself. There's also there's also something up. There's a preview of the Yosagi. I'm gonna butcher this name. Yosagi Yojimbo animated film that's done in motion capture, like clay animation. It's very cool. So please check that out. We have a featured cosplayer, Angie Viper. She's up there and she's dressed up as Miss Marvel and Supergirl and some other things. So go check that out because those are always good. Cosplay is fun. If you want to work out. If you're a crazy person, check out Natalie's weekly workouts are posted every week, and they're cool, and they're done with a cool and geeky theme. So, yep, that stuff's up there. And there's some really great, like human interest, like we're so like la-di-da fancy at Geeks with Wives. Some human interest stories in the game section. There's one about like MOBA gaming. There's one about being like affected with a disability and how in gaming. So there's some really, really interesting stuff in the gaming section, much more like heartfelt and like I said, like a nice lifetime story, I guess. I don't know. I'm terrible at this. This is why I will host. So make sure you guys are going there and then check out the other podcast, the Geeks with Wives podcast, where they talk about video games and such. And I'm sure they'll be talking about the Destinies and the Diablos and all that stuff that everyone's been playing this week and why you're not watching right now. So I'm done. I should just stop talking.
Awesome. Well, thank you, buddy. And as always, thank you to Mike and Matt for joining us. It was a pleasure having you guys. The comic is amazing, and thanks for sharing it with us. We loved it.
Thank you very much.
For sure.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, you guys. This was a lot of fun, and thanks for the flattering words, and I'm glad you enjoyed the book.
Hey, when book 2 gets done, we want to have you back.
Absolutely. Sounds like a good time.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. As always, you can find us on Twitter at GWWCapesCrew. You can find me personally at Darth Sparrow. And as always, for the entire crew and for our guests, we'd like to thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. As always, we will catch you on the geek side.